Grief is a pivotal human experience that allows you to call back the fractured pieces of your soul. Welcome back to Unbecoming with Caroline Grace. I don't think I've posted in 3 to 4 months. I forgot to look before I started this because I've had some time with grief. So the perfect episode to come back is talking about the unbecoming of grief. Grief is not a punishment. Grief is not the depths of hell. Grief is actually the biggest gift that we get on this human journey. And it only happens when you fully surrender to it. So today I'm going to talk about my experience with grief over the past year and past couple of months when it really came to the surface. And then I'm going to break down the 5 gifts within grief. Because when you can see something as an opportunity, when you can lean into the alchemical process of grief, you come out of it more you than you entered, which is one of the gifts that I'm going to talk about. And if you've never met me before, hello, my name is Caroline, and this podcast is called Unbecoming because a few years ago I realized life is not about becoming somebody different. It's not about being the right person or working hard enough or proving yourself. It's literally about shedding all the layers that are not you to return deeper to the parts that are you. No matter what your wildest dreams are, what you want to do in this world, where you want to go, what you're creating, none of that requires you to be somebody different. All of your dreams and your passions and your goals, all of that demands you to be more truly, authentically, genuinely, soul deeply you, which is why I named this podcast Unbecoming. And ever since I did that, I have realized more and more and more what unbecoming really means. And that's why this is a perfect topic to come back to. Last year, well, about a year and a half ago, I moved back in with my birth mother. So I was adopted at birth. I was raised with an amazing family, parents and 2 sisters, and they were by my side through a lot of the craziness that my life unfolded to become. And I first met my birth mother when I was 16. I always knew about her. It was always the story of she wanted you to be double loved. She was young when she had me. She didn't have enough support to go out on her own, and she didn't want me in the family dynamic because she was so in it, because she was so young. Birth father didn't even want to acknowledge that I was a thing or that she was pregnant with me or that I was existed. And so she adopted me out to my parents, which they are my guardian angels. I could cry talking about them, as you can see, because I literally would not be alive today without them. Anywho, so I met her for the first time when I was 16. It was the craziest experience. I'd never been in the presence of somebody that I just knew me without having to explain myself. And we wrote letters back and forth when I was little. I would see her maybe once a year from 20 to 24. Anywho, so 2 years ago, June, I got this inkling in my body that said, we need to get close to her. This is the time. You're an adult. How old was I at the time? I was 25. I can't keep track of years. We're just going to pretend I was 25. I just got this deep knowing in my body that said, you need to be close with her. So I asked her to get coffee, and we had this amazing conversation where I said, I'm ready to really get close to you. I want to know you. I want to know the family. I want to know. It was really about myself through you, right? But I'm really scared I'm going to lose you again. That's my biggest fear. I want this, but I'm also holding a lot of fear at the same time. And she was able to meet me with, I want to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to welcome you in and hold you in my arms, but I'm scared to let you down again. And from that point forward, we just were we were texting all the time. We saw each other once a week. We were literally like this. And it was one of those bonds that I've experienced that is indescribable. I think because most people just have that with their parents, somebody that knows you without you needing to explain yourself. Someone that understood the workings of my brain, that I could say something Moral of the story, when I grew up, since I didn't share DNA or like any of that nature sense, I really had to over explain myself to be seen, to get my needs met. And so that became the way that I learned to survive through life, was to over explain, was to justify, was to prove, because I never really felt seen until I let my relationship with my birth mother unfold. And I was like, wow, okay, no wonder I've had this deep core need to be seen, because this is what it actually feels like. Fast forward, a few months later, decided to move out to California. That's always been my dream, to live on the beach. I was running my business by the time. I was making more money than I'd ever made before, doing something that I loved. I wanted to be by the beach. Like, I had the funds available, I got them ready, like I was doing it. And on the day that I met her to tell her that I decided to move, she told me she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which already was this odd reckoning of like, okay, we just got really close. Now I'm having this pull to move away and you just got diagnosed with cancer. Like, this is a, talk about duality in one conversation. Excuse me. There was so much going on in that conversation, on an emotional level, on like a logistical level. But I was like, I'm one to follow the call. So I was like, I'm just going to follow my call. But like, we decided to like FaceTime. We were going to text. She was going to keep me up to date with her treatment. So, and I'll get to the grief part of the story. Thank you for following along. I moved out to California. Her treatment continued to get more intense. She was not doing so well. Then she was going to have surgery. I was like 6 weeks out from this bodybuilding show. I was with a brand new coach. I was honestly miserable. Like, I was doing a protocol that should have killed me. Like, I was like pushing really hard in this one direction, and life kept saying like, go over here. But I'm very headstrong. When I have my sight set on something, I'm going to freaking make sure it gets done. So I was like, oh my gosh. I woke up one day and I was like, I need to go back home for just a visit. This was the middle of October. I went home for a visit. I was with my entire birth family, so extended family, aunts, uncles, grandma on my birth side. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it was the craziest feeling to just be surrounded by like what felt like my people, and to do it as an adult. Like, to see myself in my two birth siblings that are quite young. They were 10 and 15 at the time. To see myself in these as adults, to hear about my story from a whole other perspective. I was like, I can't leave this. And I kind of already knew that I was going to move back home at that point. And I met with my birth mom for coffee the next day, and I was like, I need to move back. It was a wild experience. Anywho, so then I decided to move back 5 weeks out from bodybuilding competition. Had zero carbs for like 10 days, 90 minutes of cardio every day. Like, I don't know how I survived, but I got back. And that night, like, I slept like 10 hours. Like, it was the most. And the unfolding of me living in with her was also a crazy story, because I wasn't going to live with her. Like, I was just going to move back and get an apartment, but like nothing was working out. She had just built this like $1 million home. There was 2 rooms empty. She offered them, but I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I've literally met your kids, my half siblings, like once. Like, I'm not just going to barge in and move into your house with my dog that sheds like crazy. And I have a lot of stuff. Like, I'm a grown ass adult and I work from home. But then it just ended up that I took the leap of faith, to the calling, to the opportunity to move in with her. Anyways, that's a whole nother story for another time. Long story short, the next June, she passed away from cancer. Like, it progressed fast. And I was able to be in that house and help take care of her and my siblings. And I have a background in nursing, so I was able to like understand what was going on, was there through hospice, through the surgeries. Like, that in of itself was a gift beyond that I'm sure I'll talk about more in the future. But it was like, in slow motion, I was reliving my deepest trauma. Being adopted is such a deep trauma. Like, I believe it's lived in my body since before I was even born. And I was born early, and I have lots of theories about, well, it happens when I'm like deep in meditation or doing something that I'll understand myself, where like before I was even born, I knew that I was unwanted. That's the way I perceived it, right? Because everything's our perception. And then I was 2 weeks early, so I was in an incubator, a little isolette, so I didn't have anybody touching me for like the first 9 weeks of my life. Was in like an ICU setting. So a lot of deep trauma lives in my body around my birth and safety and security, being adopted on top of that. And then I was reliving that in front of my eyes. Like I had just moved into this house, I was secure, and then all of a sudden we were scrambling to move my little siblings, into another house so that when she passed, they were living with my uncle. And then there was legal stuff with the trust, and then I was in the trust. There was like all this logistics, but then the root of it was I was watching her like decompose in front of my eyes rapidly, reliving losing the one person that I was most pained for losing and never got to know. And now I know her and I'm losing her again. And in Caroline fashion, I was in deep fight or flight. I mean, obviously, right? When somebody goes through that thing. So then I was like working harder. I like was saying yes to everything. I was like busy taking care of the kiddos, busy taking care of her. Like, yes, what can I do? Cleaning the house, blah, 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 blah. And then my body was like giving out. On top of that, my body had already given out that June after my show. Like my nervous system fried, reproductive system turned off. My hormones were like zero. Body wasn't functioning. And then I was like slowly going downhill again. I could barely get out of bed. I ended up moving into my own apartment. And after like 3 weeks of living on my own and trying to keep up that same level of energy, like everything shut down. I only had enough energy to go sit on the couch, cry, call my mom. So my adopted mom, Mama Janet, I would call Mama Janet and cry for like 3 hours, talking to her about all this deep stuff that I was working through, feed myself, and then go to bed. Like going on a walk with my dog was honestly so hard. And I'm someone that loves to hike, loves to run, like being active. Spartan races are my jam. And I couldn't even go on a walk. And at the same time, I knew that I was becoming a different person. I literally got rid of my entire closet. I was like, none of this is me anymore. Like I was in this huge reckoning with like, who the heck am I? But then I found myself being nobody, empty, nothing except for pain. And I tried to fight it so hard. There were moments where I was even like, I think I need to go to the psych ward. Like I was like, this is too painful. Like I'm ready to end it. What are my options? And I've done the psych ward thing before. That was not going to happen. And I was like, I was like really nervous. I didn't know what to do. I was suffering. I couldn't really work anymore. I only had 3 one-on-one clients at the time. So like 1 to 2 video calls a week. I could present myself and be there and be present. But then that's all I could do. And the biggest gift that this taught me was that the only way through this is if I completely surrender to the pain and not try to fight it. When I allowed myself to lay on the couch and surrender and feel, like it was a very visceral experience because our trauma, our emotions, our stories, all that lives in our body. And the more I surrendered into it and just let myself like lay on the couch and feel this pain, and like I must have been like half asleep the whole time or something, because I was in these like subconscious places, like excavating my freaking feelings and subconscious and stories and traumas. Like there were days where I would just sit with that newborn baby, scared, alone, unsure, and just hold her. And but there got a point like nothing's changing. Like I couldn't see the other side. So I was like in it. It was only dark. I didn't know which direction to go. I was like, I can't work. I can't get it. Like, thank goodness I had financial support from people, because I was like stripped bare bone, deep, dark, couldn't see which way was up. And I joined a local grief group at this yoga place, and that's what saved it. That's what saved my life. Because I went to school for therapy. Like I've been a substance abuse counselor. Like I knew the therapeutic things of grief, like the 7 stages of grief or how to get through it. And I was like, that's a total BS. Like that's all so analytical in your mind. Like this is happening in my body. Like, anyways, that's why I do this work, because therapy, we don't just do it in our mind. It happens in our body. So in this group, we read the book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow. Oh gosh, by Francis Weller, I believe is I know his name is Francis Weller. I need to look it up, but I'll link it below. In phenomenal book. And in that book, it talks about, oh, this part makes me so emotional. It talks about how ancient civilizations and communities that are connected to the earth, more like tribal communities, actually go through grief. And this is like burned into my brain. There's one community where when somebody is going through grief like this, like they lose somebody, like a child or a parent or a spouse, the whole community supports them while they lie by a fire for a year. The whole community supports them, helps them feed themselves, helps their family, supports them while they lie by a fire for a year. Grief is not something you can move through alone. It is not something you can shove down. And that, like, think of our society. Everyone is sick with heart problems, heart congestion, autoimmune diseases, anxiety, depression. That happens when you keep the balloon underwater for so long that then it has to fester its way out through your body. And there are communities where people lie by a fire for an entire year and have a community to support them. And when I read that, it was like, it was the exhale I was waiting to have, because it gave me permission to just be so like unbuckled in every area of my life that I finally allowed myself to like receive support without feeling guilty, let myself be unbuckled everywhere, and just surrender to this like gut wrenching. It felt like every vessel of my body was being ripped off, like this deep unbecoming. And in this group, we did a grief ritual that like completely set me free. We talked about grief, but like in a psychosomatic way, not in this like Western philosophical therapeutic fix yourself, because I was not about to go on medication. I knew that would just shut it down. I was not about to go to the psych ward because I was like, I can't, this isn't a process that I meant to cut off. Like, I just need to surrender to it. And I can't verbalize how deeply painful it was, but if you've been through grief, you know what I'm talking about. So I want to talk you through 5 gifts of grief. These are gifts of grief that I took from. And whether you've been through grief, you're going through grief, you're gonna go through grief sometime in your life, because I think it is one of the most profound, magical, special journeys of this human experience that cannot be bypassed. And if it is bypassed, you're going to be brought back to it until you fully surrender. Like I said, with health issues, mental health issues, or life's going to keep handing you things to grieve, because it's such a beautiful experience. And I mean, I don't want to jump to the end, but this is calling to me now. But I wrote this down. Grief is the most pivotal experience on this human journey, because it's the only thing that can bring back the fractured pieces of your soul and set flame to your truth. Because in grief, you are only truly you. And when you hold on to that as you come out of it, there is no going back. And you have proved to yourself that you can survive the deepest of hellish of feelings. And that power, that knowing, that alchemical process, that reckoning, that sovereignty is only yours, and no one can take it away. And it like literally felt like all these fractured pieces, all the things that I outcast from myself, all the pieces of myself that I learned to hate and shove and shame, I was able to bring them back and love on them like no freaking other. And what an opportunity that I was able to do that with my birth mom. And because of her passing and her passing on out of this human experience, because I now have a deeper connection to her than I did before. I now know her better. I know she knows me better, not being in a physical body, because everything is energy, right? She still exists. I talk to her. She visits me. And it's not woo-woo. Like, it's energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Her essence is still alive. It's in this room with me right now. It will always be with me. I can always call on it. And that's not one of the gifts, but shit, I should have made it one of the gifts. So the first gift of grief is pain. Grief is the pain of love that has nowhere to go. Grief is the pain of love that has nowhere to go. How freaking beautiful is that? And this is the second gift, that somebody can impact the world so much that you feel their absence. Nobody spends 24/7 with the same human being. Yet when they are not here in this human body, you feel their absence. The second gift of grief was how impactful every single individual is just by existing. By existing, you have the power to literally rip somebody's heart out when you leave. That is how loved and cherished you are for being you. That is not something you have to earn. That is not something you can prove. That is not even something you can explain. That is something you embody by being you. And the pain of your absence, the pain your absence will cause, is proof of the magic, unique space and presence that only you can take up. And the third gift is the feral energy that unlocks. You cannot be pleasant or fit into a box or fit any normal societal standard of put together when you're in grief. You have to be feral. You have to scream at the heavens, not wash your hair for 3 weeks, like leave the house a mess when you're in that deep grief, because you could not care less about those things. That feral animal inside of you needs to scream and shout and become completely unhinged to allow space for that grief to move through you, to be expressed, to be felt, to be witnessed, to be honored. Every little bit of too much that I held, that is put to rest after this experience. And the opportunity that I had to be in a group grief experience was that I could be witnessed in that feral energy. Because the next gift is community. You cannot do it alone. You need to be witnessed and held and supported in your grief. You cannot do it alone. And healing only happens when you allow that raw, unbuckled, unbecoming to be seen, witnessed, held, and still loved. Because that gives you proof then, like, oh, okay, I'm seen, I'm okay, I'm still here. And being part of that group where I was able to witness other people, that like gave me like a 30-fold invitation to embrace it within myself. You cannot get through grief alone. Especially in our society where there's bills to pay, fridge to be restocked, chores that need to get done just to, maintain basic living. And if you are in grief, the most painful thing, well, and I don't want to say the most painful, it's all freaking painful, but it's going to feel so vulnerable to ask for help. But there is that, like, that's a string of grief, or a string of, that's a gift, right? Grabbing onto that vulnerability and standing sturdy in it, allowing yourself to be held, taken care of, witnessed, seen, loved, you deserve that. And whether it's somebody you know, a stranger, you need to reach out to me, you need to call like a local center and get into a group, allow yourself to be witnessed. That is the only way through, because if you're trying to do it alone, you're going to have to bypass some part of the story, some part of the experience, some part of what is the reckoning inside of you to continue on, which sounds like shit. But what matters most is that you're able to move through it fully surrendered without performing or shoving anything down. Because all of the shoving down that I did with the grief, because I was sitting with the grief of what happened, of her death, but I was also sitting with the grief of that baby and the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old and the 10-year-old that had all these stories about herself of being unloved, unwanted, a mistake. I was also sitting with her because it will bring up all of your hurts. And you do not have to hold that alone, and you cannot hold that alone. Which leads us to the final gift, which is shedding. You don't walk out the same because you've ignited your soul on fire. You will walk out with different friends. You will see who was there with you and who did not want to be around for the mess. And those people that did not want to be around for the mess, they don't understand yet what grief asks of you, which is why they couldn't stick around. Not because they were bad or you weren't good enough or there was something wrong with them. No, they didn't know how to show up for you. They did not yet have an opportunity to meet the depths of themselves. So it was uncomfortable. I mean, this is not obviously the only reason, but very general. They cannot show up for you because they've not showed up for themselves that way. Your identity will shift. You will see in your life what no longer fits the bill, what is not worth your energy. Maybe it's a whole career change. Maybe it's a whole identity rewire or a passion ignited or something you're like, why have I been spending 40 years doing that? I don't care. It will reorganize your values, your priorities, and your intentions in such an authentic way. That's what I love so much about grief is when you fully surrender to it, you can only be authentic. You can only be the truest part of you. It brings you deeper into your own soul. Grief is a pivotal human experience that allows you to call back the fractured pieces of your soul. It's a visceral experience because it demands you. It does not ask, it does not whisper, it does not suggest, it demands you to sit with all of those hurt parts of yourself and feel it. Because we've gotten really good at not feeling what we don't want to feel and feeling what feels kind of okay. It demands you to feel it, and the only way through is to surrender. Surrender, love on yourself, find a community, let yourself be feral, let yourself reorganize. Like it felt like a whole DNA cellular reorganization period. Which is why I had no energy to do anything except for lay there and just let it happen and just like be in the darkest places of my life and be like, I love you still. I'm going to still feed you. I'm still going to take a shower every couple of days. I'm still going to put you into bed, tuck you in tight and change your underwear. You become a child that just needs basic needs and is so freaking beautiful. And I didn't know if I was going to do this, but I'll do this. I want to read a little part. This was after my very first grief group with the group. And I think one of the questions that she asked us to journal about was, what has your grief experience been like thus far? And I want to read this because it's such a great example of how grief is not about the event. It's about everything else too. Like the event just ignited or like put a flashlight on the parts of you that were already existing, the other hurt parts, the other unsure parts, which is why you can't run away from it. So, my grief experience thus far, that was probably the prompt. The resurfacing of a lifetime of grief and all the layers that kept it in. The depths of working, identity, running, fighting, surviving, and striving. The loss of 26 years of knowing. The loss Caroline experienced before birth. The loss of knowing oneself. And quite honestly, complete loss. There feels like nothing alive inside of me anymore. Nothing is soothing, and the only thing I can do is dissociate and distract. And past identities tell me that is weak. That I can't just show up and push through and take care of myself, and I feel like a part of me doesn't even want to try. Dreaming of death is the only relief. Side note, if you're struggling with suicidal ideation or you're struggling with any thoughts of wanting to harm yourself, harm others, or end your life, please seek help. You can text 988. You can call them, reach out for support, because that kind of ideation is a soothing method, especially for me in my life. It's been a soothing method of, I can't handle this, I need an escape. It is not the true parts of you speaking, it's the survival and protection parts of you speaking. So please seek help. This is my experience. This is not medical advice. Dreaming of death is the only relief I've found, and I want to feel good in my life, about my life, and with my life, and that all feels so far away. I've had this feeling my whole life, and I've run out of vices, but it never goes away. Grief and love are sisters. The most prevalent grief I'm feeling activated by is Mama Brooke, in the past version, overachiever, riddled with discipline and certainty version of me. And both of those have symbolized safety. There is a part of me that knows where I've come from in a lifelong yearning for this home, for a mother that kept me, and for a father that acknowledged me, to belong, to be wanted, to be loved. For life, I've carried stories of unworthiness, unlovability. How could somebody want me if my makers rejected me before birth? Deep loss, sorrow, longing, and grief, uneffable in human form. These fractures led to a life full of empathy, feeling, noticing, seeing, and witnessing. The longing of the man alone at the restaurant, the anticipation of the busy mom in the waiting room, the pain in the eyes of the receptionist getting a call from her sick son at school, yet the needing for a day's worth of pay. For society that leaves the sick struggling in the streets. Land destroyed and killed for parking lots. The exploitation of the vulnerable for capital gain. Entire ecosystems being destroyed to print carefully crafted rhetoric into textbooks that you must master and memorize, or life is going to be a lot harder. All the while telling this child she's sensitive, she worries too much, she feels too big, she needs to calm down and stop biting her nails, which we still struggle with sometimes. So she drank 13 years around the sun and already drowning under pressure to perform academically, eat perfectly, stay small and perfect, and keep a sweet smile and a pleasant demeanor. She's punished for acting out, showing rage, and even for bursts of uncontrollable laughter during sacred moments of relational joy. She drank. She dressed like the other kids. She tried the drugs to fit in, and for once she felt at home without any connection to her body, with her brain chemicals changed and overridden. She no longer had to pretend. She no longer had to hold the balloon 6 feet underwater or stay pleasant to mask the pain. She was simply disconnected. Drugs and drink only worked until her body pivoted or provided a few pounds of protective tissue. Freshman 15. Once the body that judged how much she loved herself or respected herself through discipline started to fail her, there was another problem to run away from. Within a society that industrialized self-control, caloric manipulation, forced movement, that was now the next escape. And it was neatly packaged with a bow on top. Fitting in with a desired rhetoric while being praised by others met a deep need to be loved, seen, witnessed, wanted, and belonged. For belonging to others was the path to belonging to oneself, right? The fun thing about growing up is there are little changes. Adults have continued to act from the shadow and glamorize this repressed shame, fear, guilt, grief, and continual sorrow we've carried since childhood. Now, 4 jobs deep, bodybuilding, girl boss, CEO, social fame, abs, and discipline. Because I love myself so much, I'll wake up and do everything I don't want to do because strength is earned and suffered for. And if you are jealous, good. It took a lot of grit, hard work, and suffering to get here. Yep, soul level suffering. Self-abandonment, body override, cyclical shutdown, deeper repression, and a facade mastered so well, I'm fine, got super glued by Satan to my face. And when the walls started to crumble, The soul demanded space, and the sacred body reached its capacity. And the world told me it was all my fault. Weak for letting myself go, lazy for being immobilized, for the quiet, boring, calm life I dreamed of didn't fit in this game box any longer. It was then I witnessed the thread weaving through all of our lives, bodies, and souls. 8 months. 8 months from hi, you have cancer, to dying in my arms. 8 months from wow, that's where I came from, to that was all I'll ever have. The same fire that fueled my life of running, fighting, chasing, proving, numbing, and achieving was the exact fire that started one rogue cell into a painful corset trapping the body that created me. Dismissed by doctors, known intuitively, joy of reunion and daily decline, the truth of origin and the cost of living. Choices, decisions, lifestyles that we were not given, rather spoon-fed from birth, injected with fear and solutions. Told we have a choice, yet only feeding some ones. Told we have a choice, yet only feeding some ones that don't care. I don't know what that says. You're told to keep it all together. Yet how can that be possible when you not only don't have the puzzle pieces, you're not even playing the same game? That was me deep in grief. And I only read that because whether the words resonated or not, there's a knowing and a feeling behind all of it that, like I said, whether you've been through, are going through, or going to go through, I hope this video can bring you just a little bit of hope that you've been seen, that you are understood, and that you're right where you belong. Like I said, you have been given puzzles for a life that only you know how to put together. Or you've been giving pieces to a puzzle of life that only you know how to put together. No information outside of you. And this is coming from somebody that studied medicine, studied the therapeutic world, and now has created my own framework for coaching clients because none of that fits. Because nothing outside of you will ever take you to your true soul destiny path that lights you up and gives you energy. And everything that I talked about that's been so glamorized on ways to fix yourself and run away and cope and overachieve is a facade. And May 5th, if you're watching this live, May 5th, I'm hosting a live soul-led meditation. And it's like a meditation workshop where I'm inviting people to come, sit with their true self, and allow that true self to start guiding their life. Because the only reason I am here alive today, because this wasn't the darkest place I've been other really dark places, is there's always been this light inside of me that has led me. And I have tried to cover it up and shame it and push it away, and it's like, it's never going out. And when I learned to pour into that light, it started leading the way. And it shows me exactly what I need to know in the moment. It does not show me the whole road. That's not the point of our life. The point of our life is to be present right here, right now, listening to our truth and letting that lead us. Because that truth knows exactly the people we're supposed to be around, the purpose that we want to follow, the passions, it tells us the next step, and it gives us what we need to do that one next step. Anything beyond that, it's not up to you. And our ego, our mind, our logical brain, the thing that likes to punish ourselves and control us and manipulate and drown and distract, that is your ego protection amazing brain that only runs off of past evidence. And this, your soul, that inner knowing, is the guide. And when we learn to move from our head into our hearts, that's the only way through. As a genuine person, here to gift amazing things to this world. If that journey is not for you, that's fine. So the description or the link to sign up will be in the show notes. May 5th, I am hosting a live meditation workshop called Soul Led, so you can start to live a soul-led life. and I'll say this again, the only reason I got through that is because I was connecting with myself and letting that tell me what to do. The days that I fought it were worse. Knowing yourself is a gift. Knowing yourself and letting that lead is how you live a life beyond your wildest dreams. It is no coincidence that 2 months before she got diagnosed, I had a knowing in me that said we need to get close. There is no coincidence that 6 months before she passed away, I had the deep knowing that I need to move back to Utah. I was only out in California for 2 months. Makes no sense. Except there were lots of signs pointing me that way, and I just kept ignoring them because I thought I knew what was better, and we never do. You are loved, you are worthy, you belong, and you deserve everything just for being you. And when you die, you're going to rip someone's heart out. That's how powerful you are. No, that's not the main message, but you get the point. Join me for May 5th, soul-led heart activation. Thanks for joining another episode of Unbecoming, and I'll see you in the next one.